Yep, it's time. Time for a new project. Man, I have always wanted one of these, and we finally got one for the channel. This is my new to me 2004 Mercury Marauder. It's the newest project for the channel. Truth be told, this car has been sitting here for quite some time, since January actually, and today is the second to last day of April, and it has sat right here. You guys have not missed anything. I actually missed editing it out in one or two of the Trans Am videos, and a couple of you guys caught it and saw it, so many of you already know that this project was coming, and you might already know where it's headed. But some of you might not even know what is a Mercury Marauder. These things are pretty rare. To a lot of people, this just looks like a cop car. In fact, that's what my wife said. Why did you buy a cop car and ship it up here from Louisiana? If only she knew. I'm gonna have her watch this next section. What is this thing?
Introducing the 2003 Mercury Marauder. 302 horsepower, 4 doors, no nonsense. Mercury Marauder. Make room for it.
The development of the 2003 Mercury Marauder marked the revival of a classic muscle car nameplate for the new millennium. Mercury was hoping to bring a younger crowd into showrooms with a hot new car reminiscent of the 1960s muscle cars utilizing the popular Panther platform. The 2001 Chicago Auto Show saw the debut of a Mercury Marauder concept car, hinting at the production model with some blacked out trim, an upgraded chassis, and a powerful V8 engine. The production 2003 Marauder was based on the Grand Marquis, but with significant performance and styling enhancements, such as the 4.6-liter dual overhead cam V8 engine straight from the 2003 and 2004 Mach 1, producing 305 horsepower and 318 foot-pound of torque. It included a low-restriction aluminum intake, dual-bore 57mm throttle body, high-flow fuel injectors, and a low-restriction exhaust. This was backed up by a beefed-up 4-speed automatic transmission, reinforced torque converter, and 355-to-1 limited-slip rear axle. The Marauder also received sport-tuned suspension with Tokiko monotube shocks, stiffer anti-roll bar bushings, load-leveling rear springs, and a more rigid frame. On the exterior side, the Marauder distinguished itself from your classic Grand Marquis with a blacked-out grille, blacked-out headlights, tinted taillights, HID fog lamps, 18-inch polished 5-spoke wheels, and unique Marauder badging. The interior featured slate-colored leather seats with improved bolstering, center console with floor-mounted shifter, and my favorite part, the white face auxiliary oil pressure and voltage gauges from Autometer. Initial reviews praised the Marauder and improved handling, but noted that it lacked the low-end torque of traditional muscle cars and its top speed was electronically limited. Sales fell short of expectations with only 7,800 units sold in 2003 and only 3,200 units sold in 2004. As such, only 11,000 Marauders were produced between the two production years, making it quite rare, significantly more rare than the popular 2003 to 2004 Mustang Cobra, or as many of us know it, Terminator. The Marauder was discontinued after 2004 due to lackluster sales figures, but although the car was discontinued, the average customer age in Mercury showrooms dropped from age 69 to age 51. So in a way, Mercury achieved their goal, if not short-lived. Despite its short production run, the Mercury Marauder has since gained a cult following for its unique blend of full-size comfort, retro muscle car aesthetics, and respectable performance. So now that you guys know a little bit more about the history of the Marauder and what was happening with the brand in the early 2000s, let's talk about this one. Many of you were around for the cheap 2003 Cobra build where I ended up having to put two different motors or two different replacement motors in to that car. The first one we got it all rebuilt, put all new gaskets and seals on it, took it to the dyno, and it ended up burning oil. Tried replacing the valve seals, tried a couple other different things, and at the end of the day, it still burned oil. So I pulled it out, grabbed another motor off of eBay, put that one in that car, drove it for a little bit. And then sold that car to a subscriber from the channel, actually out in Washington State. And that seemingly was the end of that project. But there was a problem. Now I had a basically complete Terminator motor, supercharger, long block, all accessories, everything that burned oil but ran pretty good sitting around. So I kind of debated what I should do with it. Should I part it out, make all of my money back and then some? I got a great deal on both of the motors that I bought for that car. But to me, that seemed kind of boring. So I decided, what if I dropped that motor off at a machine shop, had them go through it, rebuild it if necessary, and then we could drop it into something else. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a cool plan. It's gonna cost a little money, but you know, why not? It's only money. Can't take it with you when you're dead. The next question is, what do we drop it into? We've already done the Terminator Cobra, which is 03 and 04 Cobra. Extensive videos on that blue car on the channel. So I was trying to avoid doing something like that again. I've always wanted a Terminator swapped notchback Fox body, but the problem with that was, A, notchbacks are hard to find clean around here, and if they are, they're really expensive, and B, knowing me, I would want it to be like a full custom build, like, you know, everything from top to bottom, paint, body, probably custom digital dash, like suspension, and I could see that snowballing into a multi-year build, which at this point I really didn't want to do. So I was like, okay, what would that 4-valve modular 4.6 basically drop into that's not a Mustang? And boom, right here, it came to me. I said, you know what, a Marauder would be sweet. These things from the factory were awesome, but the only complaint a lot of people had was they weren't that fast. They basically had a Mach 1 motor in it, 305 horsepower, but they're a heavy Crown Vic / Grand Marquis.
One would think that all that's a recipe for tire smoking burnouts, but in fact the Marauder launches like a pussycat, albeit a very robust one, hitting 60 in a quick, if not exceptional, 7.5 seconds. The quarter mile takes 15.6 seconds, ending at 93 miles per hour.
So what a lot of guys do is slap a Terminator blower on these things, and that's pretty good, but you still don't have the forged internals, so you couldn't throw all that much boost at them, and they are questionably reliable. The solution is exactly what I'm doing a full Terminator swap, allowing us to basically throw as much boost as we want at this thing, make a ton more power than factory, and make this thing an ultimate sleeper. These obviously were 03 and 04, same as the Terminator. They came out when I was, 8th grade or just going into high school. My buddy got one of these when he was like 16, and I remember us doing some really, really dumb stuff in it when we were 16 years old. And you really don't see too many of them. They made 11,000 of these over the course of 2 years, and when people do see them, car guys usually know what they are, but most people won't even know what hit them, that they just got beat by their grandpa's Grand Marquis. So great, now we got the right car, we got a motor in the works that could be dropped into this thing without any real big issues. Now all we got to do is find a car. And I like to try and be financially smart, despite how it may appear sometimes on the channel. I like to try and be smart with the money that I'm spending on these cars. So I didn't want to take what was essentially going to be a $15,000 motor and drop it into a car that was only going to be worth 7, 8, 10 grand, which is what a lot of these around here are worth. They have 150, 200,000 miles on them, they're rotted, and they're just really not all that valuable. The only ones that are valuable are typically the ones that are super low mileage. So then I'm like, man, this is a real shot in the dark, but what if I could find one of these with super low miles that someone blew up, needed a motor, whatever. Hopefully one that's relatively clean, that we don't have to put a ton of cosmetics into, but that's low mileage and that someone is willing to sell cheap because there's a problem with the motor or there is no motor. So I made a post on a Marauder Facebook group, said, hey, long shot here, but does anyone have a clean Marauder with low miles, clean title, that needs a motor, needs motor work, or something that you're willing to let go for significantly less than market value? And within 10 minutes, this 1 in a million car popped up from a guy in Louisiana. He bought this car in 2018, had a Vortex supercharger on it. He blew it up within 500 miles of him owning it, and it has sat since then. So this car has been sitting since I think 2017 or 2018 with 30,000 original miles on it. We're gonna take a look around it here in a second so you guys can see how clean this thing really is. Despite how it looks, it's been sitting outside on the side of my house for 4 months and been sitting outside in Louisiana for about 8 years. But I can assure you it's gonna clean up. But right now, let's go back in time a little bit to January when this thing first came off the truck, the process of getting it here, and a couple things that I've been doing in the meantime to prepare for this build. How are we gonna get out of here now? All right, welcome back. You guys are caught up. It is now once again late April. Let's take a look at this thing. So to reiterate, you guys have not missed anything. I dumped this thing here on the side of the garage, and a couple of you guys noticed it in the videos, but I have not touched it. So this is my 2004 black Mercury Marauder. Clean title, 30,000 original mile. I actually already have the title for it. It's been sitting here for so long that I already filed for the title, got it in my name in the state of New Hampshire. But I haven't even really looked at this thing all that close. I can tell you that I have not seen a single dent on it. It is extremely dirty. I'll put up some B-roll right now of the guy lived next to like a concrete plant or something, and there was always trucks going in and out, so it was really dusty. But this thing at one point was literally covered in mud, which maybe preserved the paint a little bit. It was always under a carport, so it was never, you know, in direct sun. So I think that's why the paint is in good shape, but it is definitely going to need a good scrub. Let's see, you got some minor scratches on the front bumper there. These might buff, not sure. Hood is in excellent shape, except he had the hood off for a while, and I think he put it on the ground, and it's like kind of bent up a little bit here at the edge. Little paint chip there. Other than that, this thing is straight. This side of the car, same thing. Laser straight. Yeah, pretty clean car. I mean, just as you would expect it to be. It's got 30,000 original miles. The guy said when he bought it from a guy in Tennessee, it was like the cleanest car he'd ever seen, and I think that under all this grime, he's gonna be right. Carfax verified. Of course, that's the first thing I did. You know, the way that it looks right now, I found it hard to believe that it had 30,000 original miles, but sure enough, you check the Carfax and this thing has mileage all the way up to 30,000, and then it just stops. So it has been sitting for, what is that, 7 years or so? We'll obviously get this thing inside and on the lift at some point, but underneath, you know, just as clean. Original primer on the floors. So, yeah, basically a P71 Crown Vic with a Grand Marquis front end with some blacked out stuff. And kind of a decent interior, which we'll check out now. Oh, man. It literally smells like I just got picked up at the airport in Fort Myers, Florida by my grandparents. Probably just as I did, you know, 20 years ago for spring break down in Florida with the grandparents, and they pick you up in whatever Chrysler or, you know, Ford Crown Vic Grand Marquis product that they have. It literally smells like that. It still smells like a new 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis in here. I don't know how to describe it, but you guys who have been in an old person car before, that's what it smells like. Just, I don't know, the smell of a car from the early 2000s. So looks like down here he had a wideband wired in, going through the tuning process. There's actually a video I'll put up of him driving the bag out of this thing, trying to get it tuned right up to, like, I don't know, 140. But yes, here's the Marauder specific silver face gauges. Most of your Crown Vics and Grand Marquis did not come with a tack, but in an effort to make this thing more sporty, they put the tack up here. So this is a Marauder only cluster, and then they needed to figure out where to put their voltage and oil gauge, and so they put them down here by the shifter. And I thought that this was like out of this world when this car came out in 2003. These are basically Fast and Furious racing gauges to, you know, a 13 or 14-year-old like I had. And the fact that you had silver face gauges and autometer gauges with orange needles basically all around in your grandpa's car, to me, was like, this thing was just out of this world cool for, you know, a big four-door sedan. This trim here is kind of like a dot matrix sporty, again, just for the Marauder. Column shifter here, or rather floor shifter, I should say. Normally the Grand Marquis would have been up here on the column. Talk about a parts bin vehicle. This is definitely the exact same climate control stack and buttons over here that were on my 2006 F350. So the steering wheel is slightly different, but all these buttons are the same. Same thing with the auto climate control. Guess we got a rear defrost here. Your classic mid-2000s Ford stereo. Driver or passenger heated seat controls. Cigarette lighter over here. Center console flips up. More power there. Classic coin holder. Love that. Marauder floor mats there. Fuel pressure and wideband. Look at this seat. Looks brand new. Marauder floor mat down there. Look at this seat. This is another telltale sign of low mileage. Bolster's not blown out. Literally no removed stitching. No major creasing. With a little bit of moisturizer, this would probably literally look brand new. We got over here heated seats. Marauder guys, let me know. I don't think there was like any options you could get for these cars, but I think that heated seats was one of them. It's kind of like the Terminator Cobras, where I think you could get one option, and that was polished wheels or chrome wheels, or, you know, no options, and then you got the satin wheels. I think that they basically loaded these things up as much as they could, and that was what you got. But I do think that heated seats was one option, so this car has that. Here's all your power controls there. Headliner, of course, looks mint. Very obvious to me that this car has never been smoked in. None of this stuff works. The battery is not hooked up. Which I guess I haven't talked about yet. I apologize. You know, this is a lot to talk about, you know, when you have a brand new project car with a history like this one does. But there's a little bit more than the battery that's not hooked up. Rear seat, same thing, of course. It's mint. It is dirty in here, but you know, that's to be expected for a car that's sat essentially outside in Louisiana for 7 years. Looks like he had dreams of putting in a triple pod pillar. Here's the trim for under the dash. Oh, we got a SVT X4 back here. That's probably what they were using to tune it. These feel like ignition coils. Sweet, those are good to have. OEM Ford ignition coils. Super clean back here, of course. Some boost gauge tubing. Alright, so let's get under the hood, show you guys why this car was cheap, and we'll talk about what I paid for it. It's getting hot out here. Alright, let's get this hood open. Okay. Off to a good start. There we go. Alright, thanks. Yep. It's here.
Where's the motor?
We got no engines, Ted. Ratchet strap. So, we're missing something. If it wasn't already obvious. Good news is, this looks like a pressure treated 2x4. I don't know, maybe it's not pressure treated, but at least we got that. But yes, we are missing what would have been the dual overhead cam, all aluminum, 4.6 liter Marauder engine. Or most of it anyways. Some of it is in the trunk, and we'll get to that in a second. But I paid $7 grand for the car. And the previous owner said, well, what do you want any of the extra parts? And we ended up coming to a price of $2,000 for all the extra parts, which is basically everything that this car would have come with, minus the Vortec blower that was on it, which I'm obviously not interested in anyways, and also minus the short block because it has a giant hole in it. But that should include the heads, the Marauder specific intake, timing cover, exhaust manifolds, all the other accessories should be in the trunk, which in my opinion is a fantastic deal for a 30,000 mile clean title Marauder. We could have just slapped a stock Mach 1 or Marauder engine in here, cleaned this thing up, and probably sold it for mid to low 20s, but we're not going to do that. And the parts in the trunk, those 9-thread heads alone that would have come on an 04 Marauder, probably worth $1,500, not to mention all the other parts that are in there. So I thought the $2 grand for all of the extra parts was a good deal, on top of an already screaming deal for a low mile Marauder. But let's take a look at this engine bay. Man, look at those frame rails. This thing, I mean, it's dirty, but that is like this thing just rolled off the assembly line. So we got the, I think that's a 4R70, probably the factory torque converter there. There's your mid-pipe connections there. I don't know if that's factory or not. We'll have to check that out. But other than that, I had him throw the radiator and fans in. I don't know, what else are we looking at here? Pretty clean engine bay. It seems like everything is here except for, you know, obviously the motor. The AC compressor is here and appears to be still hooked up. I think this is your factory fuel line right there. Battery harness. Not sure what that is. Coolant expansion tank. I mean, everything seems like it's here. He did tell me there's one connector on the steering rack that broke off, so we'll have to deal with that eventually. Power steering hoses. What is this, your fan? Oh yeah, there we go, there's the fan connection. So here is our blank canvas, and the biggest question that I've had so far, and I already ordered one and I hope it's right, is the flex plate. Are we going to have the correct flex plate to bolt to that torque converter? The factory Marauder motor would have had a 6-bolt non-forged crankshaft, and obviously we are putting in the Terminator motor, which has an 8-bolt forged crankshaft. So I needed to find a flex plate that had you know, 8 bolts, but that was also designed to work with that factory Marauder torque converter. So we'll see if I ordered the right one, but that's the biggest question right now. But overall, pretty psyched about this engine bay. It looks like almost everything is here at first glance anyways. This car is exceptionally clean once we get 10 years of dust and dirt off of it. Literally spider webs in the exhaust. And we're gonna have ourselves a badass sleeper here. All right, let's get in the trunk, see what we got for parts so we can start assembling this motor. All right, got our Marauder keys here. Even comes with a valet one. I wonder if that was factory or not, but here, I assume this was a Mercury symbol, has been worn off. See if we can get in the trunk of this thing. I got another set of keys somewhere. I hope I didn't lose them already. Can't seem to find them. There we are. This is like rad cover. See that Marauder intake manifold down there. Man, we got a bunch of stuff. There's an alternator, some pillows, blanket, coolant hoses. I see one head, see 2 heads, big spare with cover. What is this, an amplifier or something? Looks clean in here though. But I think the best move right now is to put you guys back, unload all this stuff, take inventory, see what we got. All right, radiator cover. Got some sort of air dam, more air dams maybe. Big radiator hose assembly, looks like. Thermostat housing, this is important. Basically the entire engine harness. See, this is one of those parts that I thought would make the $2 grand worth it, is trying to source a Marauder engine harness. All set with that. It's worth $2 grand right there. Oh, this is gonna be a big one. We not blow the back out here. Ah, nope. This way. Jesus Christ. There's one head. Alternator bracket. Another nice 2x4. Sweet. Pillow. That goes between your damn dump trucks, your transmission and the back of the block. I have no idea what that is. There's a rusty, and damaged windage tray. That's probably where the rod decided it wanted to come out of the block. Pickup tube. I think this is Marauder specific as well. Here we go. Marauder intake manifold. I think this is the coolant hose that goes under the intake. Dated March 30th, 2004. So this is probably a late Marauder. I believe this is also Marauder specific coolant crossover. Timing cover. Tensioner on there, couple pulleys, just random hardware. Some of it's labeled. A bracket, starter. This is the factory, SVT, big air, mass airflow. There's a dipstick. I think these are those little interference things that go on the back of the cylinder heads. Comforter, and last but not least, the oil filter adapter, which comes with the sending unit for the autometer oil pressure gauge on these cars. That's it. So here's what we got for parts. Like I said, I think I'm recouping basically all of my money just in these heads and this very complete Marauder intake manifold, which looks like it has a set of those, they call these the green top I think they're 36-pound injectors that he would have had on there for the Vortec. And EV1 to EV6 adapters. Might need those, we'll see. Then of course we got the timing cover, all your coolant hoses, coolant crossover, the complete engine wiring harness, oil filter adapter. This is junk, but you know, oil pickup might be junk. We got a SVT big air mass airflow sensor, alternator, just a bunch of good stuff here, plus the SVT X4 and all the gauges and stuff in the back seat. Huge trunk. You get rid of all those parts, and other than some leaves and stuff, super clean. Original spares back there, original spare laminated instructions. Never see these, so that's cool. Got a switch for the air suspension back here. Not really sure how that works. And a 6-disc changer. Wonder if we got any CDs in there. Maybe the Boston CD that was missing from the Trans Am. Other than that, huge and clean in here. So that's a good start, and normally at this point I would say, hey, let's clean this thing up, let's wash away 8 years worth of dirt and filth, and that is coming up, and I got some new products to show you for that as well. But right now we're going to switch gears a little bit and go inside, and let's mess around with that new short block that I got for this car. Hello, it's me, Chris, from the not so distant past. And here is the new heart of our Marauder, the OG Cobra engine, the 96 Texan block with a refreshed rotating assembly, fresh from R&L engines. Shoo! Damn. Looks almost the same as when I dropped it off, except now I'm $5,000 more poor. You guys can see the Trans Am is still here. Just finished up that project. The Marauder is still outside the window there. I'm just trying to organize the garage and get ready, so filming a little bit out of order. But due to the magic of video editing and YouTube, I should be able to hopefully make this flow pretty well here. Here's the factory Cobra oil pan, which I don't think will work with the Marauder, but I've got something for that. This rear cover goes there. I believe this is going to be our, oops. Yeah, these are our ARP main studs, so in here is probably going to be, I don't know, looks like miscellaneous hardware. There's a crank bolt. Anyways, and here is our 600-mile forged, what were these, diamond pistons, I think? Basically perfect shape. But yeah, let's get this thing up on the stand, get a good look at it, and then let's talk about what we think happened to this motor, and then also go over, you know, the internals and what I paid for it. right, next day. Sun came out today. Beautiful day. Yesterday, while it was raining and I was cooped up in the garage, we got my Texid short block up on the stand, got the stand out of the shed, same thing with the engine crane. Also, just so I could stay busy and not, sit here and do nothing, I painted up some parts. A lot of these parts were already painted from the last time I did this for the Cobra. These parts have been sitting, occupying this Husky workbench for the past 6, 7, 8 months now, I think. We got intake gaskets, oil filter adapter, oil cooler, plenum, motor mounts, coolant crossover, pulleys, alternator bracket, coils, random hardware. So I grabbed anything that I'm pretty sure that we're going to be using and that isn't or hasn't already been painted. A couple tensioners, alternator / power steering bracket, and the throttle body. Most of the stuff here is from the engine number 3 for the blue Cobra that I bought. So this is all stuff that I took off that motor and I put on the freshly painted stuff from motor number 2. You with me? So now we're doing this all over again in a different chassis. So obviously this stuff has got to look good. So I took out some extra Ford satin silver that I had from a Mustang GT that I think I flipped literally 10 years ago. Hit everything here with some satin silver and then some clear coat in a can. Came out super nice. So that's those. But more importantly, let's talk about this Texid block. So to recap, in the blue Cobra, this was a 97 Cobra block that someone, this private party that I had bought it from, paid a local engine shop to build. They put in the factory Cobra crank, Molnar power adder, H-beam forged rods, and a set of diamond custom forged pistons. We put that motor in, and no matter what I did, it burned oil. So I gave up, took it out, got a third motor, sent the Cobra down the road, and then this thing sat for a while. So I checked out a couple machine shops in the area, and there was only one that I was impressed with the moment that I walked in. That was R&L Engines. So let's go through what they did here to this block. Right off the bat, these guys were like, hey, just so you know, we're not the cheapest around, but we invested in some serious equipment. We like to do things the right way. It's going to take a little longer, and it might not be, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to be done right. And I was like, perfect. It's exactly what I'm looking for, because all the other machine shops I went to were dirty and dingy, and it didn't seem like they were very well organized. Like, this one was the complete opposite of that, so I had high hopes that they were going to do this modular 4.6 right. And these are not always easy to get right, as I learned last time we did this. So I dropped this short block off basically exactly the same way that you see it to the naked eye, and said basically what I just told you guys, exactly what the Cobra was doing. And I said, figure it out, let me know what you find. They had it for a few weeks, and they called me and basically said, and a lot of you guys called this in the Cobra video where I tore this original engine down and we tried to figure out what was going on based on the symptoms. The old motor was burning oil due to two main things, both of which were related to improper machining. First one was the cylinders themselves were not square. And by that I mean the distance or the measurement here at the top of this bore was not the same as at the bottom of the bore. So basically what was happening, grab one of these are the diamond pistons that came out. These are like a $1,200 custom piston here. Basically it was going down to the bottom of the bore, and it was probably able to rock a little bit, which is, not great, but also probably not why it was burning oil. It's because the rings were gapped, for example, for this distance up here and not the distance at the bottom. So that gap opened up too much at the bottom, allowing oil to get by. So basically poor machine work on the bore. This motor, when I got it, was 20 thou over. They said that it was like around 20 thou at the top and almost 30 thou at the bottom, or I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was like way off on the bottom. So that was a huge part of it. The second part was the surface finish on the cylinder walls was too rough. They had, I forget what the tool is that you use to measure that. It's a durometer, maybe? They used the durometer and figured out that surface finish was too rough. So they said, here's what we'd like to do. We'll like to go up to 30 thou over. We'll get you a custom set of manly pistons, and then we'll basically just go through everything else. We should be able to use your power adder rods and your Cobra crank, and we'll put it all back together with ARP main studs, which was an upgrade from how it was last time. But everything else is basically the same, and it still cost $5 grand. So that's reusing my crank, reusing my rods, They ordered pistons, I provided the block, obviously, and still cost $5,000. That is how much it costs to do machine work the right way. And we can take a quick look at it, you know, dismantling, degreasing. So here's a big one, resizing the cylinders 30 thou over with a torque plate. $455, square and deck the block, $225. I also missed a line hone the cylinder block with ARP, so that's a line honing on the bottom here, which we'll flip over in a second, with our ARP main studs, checking measurements, balancing everything, $451, Magnaflux the crankshaft, $63. Basically installing the rotating assembly, so everything, $950 to fully assemble everything here. And then filing piston rings, $155. And then the rest of it, this is parts. So I opted for a little bit of a bump in compression. A stock Terminator motor is 8.5 to 1. I wanted to go up a little bit, 9.3 to 1. Before this one was like, this motor was closer to 10 to 1, which is kind of pushing it on pump gas and, you know, 15 to 17 pounds of boost. So I went up from factory, but went down to 9.3 to 1 with these Manley Platinum forged pistons, rings, all new ACL bearings. I, like I said, opted for the ARP main studs. Some miscellaneous charges, you add all that up, boom, $5,000. And I paid every single cent of that. I'm not sponsored by these guys. They're just a local machine shop. This is my first experience with them, but so far I'm impressed. It seems like they really know what they're doing. The owner, I think it's the owner, or the main guy there, Leo, was nice enough to give me a tour of the whole facility while I was there. Showed me a lot of the projects they're working on, everything from like air-cooled, you know, 1960s 4 cylinders all the way up to, you know, brand new LS stuff, newer modular Ford stuff, Coyotes, marine applications. There was a guy in the shipping department that was unboxing a motor from like the Ozarks that the guy had shipped it to R&L. So there are people around the world, or around the country at least, shipping their motors to this place. And fortunately for me, they're just basically right down the street. But yeah, not sponsored. We'll see how this goes, but I feel a lot better this time around than I do with the secondhand motor from another local machine shop that, you know, did not seem as organized. We'll leave it like that. Of course, over here, they gave me a full blueprint build sheet. You got your, you know, bore size all the way down, piston clearances, bearing clearances, connecting rod part numbers and clearances. Basically just a full blueprint. So this is a really nice piece of paper to have. This is what I asked for when I bought that motor originally, and of course the owner said, lost it, sorry. So if you guys spend $5,000 or, you know, $10, $15, $20,000 on a motor, keep the paperwork. It'll be valuable for the next guy. So this is gonna be the heart of the Marauder project out there, and I've got parts scattered everywhere. The blower has been up on the table over here. We got all the parts over there we talked about. Got some stuff fresh from the powder coat shop we'll get into in a second. My 9-thread heads have been sitting under this trash bag under the workbench here for 7 months. My freshly painted satin black timing covers covered in dust is under there too. Got parts scattered everywhere. And more importantly, hidden behind the Z06 over here, I have got a stack of parts that I've been stockpiling for this thing. So we got to start building this motor, got to start figuring out what's going to work, what's not going to work, and once the Trans Am is out of here, we can get it out, pull the Marauder in. But while we're waiting, let's get started on this motor, let's get all my parts out, get organized, take a look at what I've been spending money on lately. Well, the garage was clean. So here's a portion of all the parts that I've ordered. I've still got more in the boxes right there, which we'll get into at a later time, and still more on the other side of the Corvette. But this is the core stuff that I think I'm gonna need to make a complete built Terminator motor to drop into my Marauder out there. So starting with the stuff we already had, here is the DB casting 9-thread Cobra heads, which in all reality are the same as the Aviator, the Marauder actually, the Mach 1, all that stuff. But these are the more desirable 9-thread heads that were freshly rebuilt when I put them on this motor over a year ago. And replaced all 32 valve seals because I thought that's why it was burning oil, but I digress. These are ready to go. Here's our our balancer there. 03 Cobra timing cover, got a dipstick in there. Got the oil pan, which leads us into the segue of the new parts. This is everything that I got from Rock Auto. I basically kind of almost cloned the order that I did when I built the motor for the Cobra. Well, first and foremost, because I was talking about the oil pan, this is a Dorman Marauder or Crown Vic. I think they're all the same oil pan because the Mustang ones will not fit. You can see this one tucks up a little bit tighter. I believe this one would have interfered with the cross member, so about 70 bucks. We got a Dorman one here. It's got the little oil trap and some crank scraper type things there. Felpro multi-layer steel head gaskets, exact same ones I used last time. Got a rear main seal there. What is this? I think this is stainless steel header hardware. Exhaust header or manifold gaskets. This is actually some stainless hardware for my valve covers, which we'll get to in a second. NGK spark plugs, another seal. Decided to sack up and go for ARP head studs this time. If you guys were around for the Cobra series, you know that I had to take the heads off multiple times, and I used the torque to yield bolts because they're more cost effective, but the torque procedure is a little weird. You got to torque them, then untorque them, then torque them 16 times, then do a dance, then jump out the window, and then torque them again. And there's no way to really go back and check if you've already torqued some of them. ARP stuff is obviously not torque to yield, so you just torque it to a set value and you're done, usually in 3 or 4 steps. And of course you can always go back and make sure that everything is, for example, at 75 foot-pounds. So went with these this time. Marauder motor mounts. Did new valve cover gaskets, new oil pan gasket, even though I found that I saved this one. And this one is in basically perfect shape too, so we'll see. I got extras. And then again, just cloned a lot of the same idlers that I thought I would need based on that disaster right there. Crank bolt, throttle body gasket, plenum gasket. In addition to what's on that table over there and everything here, I think we're good to go. Here's my oil. This is one of the questions I need to answer. Will my oil pickup tube from the Cobra work with the Marauder oil pan? Same thing with the windage tray here. Got my Ford Racing Performance timing set that basically has 600 miles on it. What is this, timing cover gasket? I think I got a new one of those, but this one is basically new too. Water pump. Here's the old spark plugs. I've labeled most of my hardware. Basically new Ford high pressure, high volume oil pump. Picked up some injectors from a buddy. 60-pound injectors from a buddy for a song. So we should be able to use these, I think, in the Marauder. Oh, actually though, these are EV1, and I think the Cobras or the Fords are going to be EV6. But if you remember, I had to use the Cobra injectors for the Trans Am, but that's fine because I think that with the power we're going to be making, we might be exceeding the stock fuel levels anyways. So I've got some 60s here. We'll see if we can make them work with some adapters or figure something else out. And then boom, here's the big dog. This is the original supercharger off of the Sonic Blue Cobra. The one that I sold the car with was off motor number 3. If you can keep track of all this. I know it's difficult, but this is the original supercharger. Got a 293 upper on it. Obviously the intercooler brick is down there, the lower intake, fuel rails, everything's here. I took it off all as an assembly, the coolant hoses. And then as I showed in the B-roll, took the pulley bridge and painted this thing dark shadow gray because I had some left over and still have some left over from the Mach 1 that I flipped. Painted this in the paint booth, the same one that we painted the hood and bumper on the Trans Am. This thing came out super slick. And my favorite part here are the valve covers that I got powder coated for this project, and you might be wondering, why is there 4 of them? Well, I was concerned that this motor was going to be so bad that the machine shop was going to call me and say, hey, you need another motor, or you need a block or something. So I went out and bought a Lincoln Mark 8 complete motor for $300. And the reason that I bought it is, some of you might know that 96 to 98 Cobras and the Lincoln Mark 8s came with that very desirable Texid block. So basically, I took the motor apart, threw almost everything away because it was basically all not valuable and junk, and saved the Texid block and the cylinder heads, which I sold, and a couple of like wiring harness and some other stuff I sold, recouped all my money. And in my shed, I still have a Texid block, mint condition, as a backup for, I don't know, maybe another project. But I also saved the valve covers. The Lincoln Mark 8 valve covers are basically the same as almost all of the modular Ford valve covers, and with one difference that I do like is the breather ports are on the back, so it's a little bit cleaner look than the 03 Cobra valve covers that would have been on this motor to begin with. So I got these valve covers for free, basically. Bought some wrinkle blue Ford valve powder coat, which is the same that you would have found on the GT500s in, I think, 2011 through 2014 or something like that. I had the same valve covers on this Cobra. It looked sick. Sent it to the powder coat guy and got all 4 of them done. And I think my buddy Kyle, who has an electric green Cobra, is going to take this extra set that I have. So super psyched about these valve covers. But with all that, I think I have everything I need. I'm sure more stuff will come up, but I'm not going to know until I get started. So I'm going to quit yapping. Let's get, I don't know, oil pan on, maybe start getting ready to put the heads on, see if the oil pickup's gonna work, where problems are gonna arise, see if we need to order any more stuff, and start getting this motor assembled. So I think we got the pickup and oil pan situation figured out. Got a couple of pickups here. First one, and the one that we are going to end up going with, is the factory Cobra oil pickup. And of course the high output oil pump that we had on there for 600 or so miles. And then here's 2 other options I have. This is the Marauder one out of the trunk, which even if it did work, I wouldn't use this one anyways for obvious reasons. This one is out of that Mark 8 motor that I was telling you about. They're pretty similar, but you can see the pickup height is a lot lower. This one would have worked with this pan, but I believe these are Marauder specific and therefore they're basically unobtainium. And I did a little digging around and found out that a lot of Marauder guys are doing this Cobra pickup tube as an upgrade anyways, because you can see there's less of a screen restriction there, less of a kink at the bend there. So some guys were doing that anyways, and the only thing you have to do, which I've already done here, as you can see by the enforcer there, is make a little bit of a dent in this, I don't even know if you call this like a trap right here, but basically if you think about this, when you flip over the oil pan, this area here was hitting right here as it comes up. You can see on the Marauder one, that curve is much farther back, so it avoids that area. But just a little bit of convincing with the hammer right there. Put the gasket up here. This thing pops right down. sits nice and flat. So oil pan, good to go. Pickup, good to go. Oil pump is on. So at this point, I think we can flip this thing over, give these 9-thread DB casting heads just a quick wipe down, get our head gaskets out, get our ARP studs out, and turn this thing into a long block. Also, Trans Am is gone. Big sad. But now we got room in this bay for Team Marauder out here. So let's keep working. Hour later. Oh no. Woo! God, this sucker is heavy. Let's go nice and easy this time. Oh, it's not good for the back. Oh, thirsty. Good afternoon. Iced for the afternoon. Last night, we converted this thing from a short block to a long block. Not without some struggles though. This was one of those classic situations where you're like, oh, just head out to the garage, slap those heads on real quick, no problem. But doing it the right way takes a little bit longer than that. You'd think I would know that by now, but apparently I don't. Start off, we went through and chased all of the bolt holes. That's important no matter what you're working on when you're putting heads on. You want to make sure you get accurate torque values and make sure, more importantly, that there's no debris or water or anything down there that could potentially crack the block when you tighten your stud or your head bolt or whatever you're using. Make sure the threads are clean, vacuumed out. I do that on just about everything that I work on. Then I'm usually pretty particular about making sure that the head surface and block surface are both surgically clean using either brake cleaner or whatever I have available. And then the gasket goes on. In this case, what I've done in the past with head studs is you put the head studs on, then slide the gasket over it, and then put the head on. But ARP wants you to install the head gasket and cylinder head and then screw the studs into the block. So that's what I did. No problems over here. Over here, I got all of the studs in except for this one right here, and it was just fighting me, and I really wasn't like how it was threading in, and I went to back it out, and the hex head, which is not to be used for torque, it's really just to assist with, inserting and removing the studs, it rounded off. That's one of those moments where, your 15-minute project just turned into potentially all day or all weekend. That wasn't exactly the case here, but I was throwing around some words, 4-letter words that weren't good, because that could have been bad. But with some vice grips, and I actually, doubled up on a couple of the nuts that go on the studs and was able to use a wrench to kind of turn it out. And so we got it out, but then I was like, what's going on? I chased all of these holes with my bolt chaser, which is basically an old head stud or a whole old head bolt that I cut a slit into. And they all threaded in fine. They're all clean. What's going on here? So then I thought maybe it was a manufacturing issue with the ARP stud. So I moved this one over here and vice versa. And this one then threaded in fine, and this one was still giving me problems. So then I knew it was a problem or something going on with the threads down there. So I threaded in my chaser like 3 more times, thought that would do it. Nope, still having problems. Long story short, I have no idea what was happening. I ended up just like working the stud in and out and in and out a little bit farther each time. This whole process took like over an hour until I finally got the stud to seat all the way. I don't know, the threads look perfect. I mean, the stock head bolt threads in perfectly and gets tight and locks down at the bottom, so that I don't know what's going on, but it's in there now. It's all the way seated, and we should be good to go. But man, that was a time killer. Had a bunch of tools out, made a big mess, got all that cleaned up this morning, but I think we're good to go now. Got your ARP assembly lube on all of these things, and then you got the nut, or the washer rather, with the grippy side down. Put the nut on, torque it in 3 steps, 25, 50, 70. And this is what I like about studs, as I mentioned, better than head bolts is, or torque to yield stuff, is I came back and checked all these like 3 times, made sure that they were all at 70 foot-pounds. With a torque to yield bolt, you can't do that because you have to do like 90 degrees on the last one, and then it's not based on a torque reading from your wrench. So it's not easy to double check your work. So I triple checked everything. These are all at 70 foot-pounds per the ARP instructions. We're good to go. Tell you what, that ARP assembly lube is like anti-seize. You get it on your hands or anything else, it gets everywhere. Yeah, I'm wearing the same shirt as last night because I think I'm going to throw this shirt away after this. Speaking of this shirt, this is actually a sample of merch coming for the channel. You guys have been asking for it. I've been wanting to do it forever. I'm finally getting merch for the channel. This shirt, I didn't really like how it fits. It's too loose, too baggy, so it didn't make the cut. So this basically is a trash shirt, but for you guys that are interested in merch, we are gonna have a bunch of shirt designs coming to the channel, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, we now have a complete long block. The next steps are to, the crank right now is in the safe position, meaning that none of the pistons are all the way up. So next we need to remove all of these cam followers, and then we can, these will be able to move freely, and then we can get to work timing this motor with my timing set over there. And then we can put the front cover on, water pump. There's a bunch of work I got to do to the supercharger to get that on there, but we are making progress here. But at this point, I think I'm going to transition back to the car itself and maybe switch over to some cosmetics. For the thumbnail of this video, I might slap the Eaton on there, just pop some valve covers on, specifically just for the thumbnail for a Terminator swap Marauder. But more of the motor assembly we might leave for the next video. But for now, let's get back to the Marauder, get into some new detailing products that I just got from the newest sponsor for the channel. Oh yeah, baby. Look at this spread from the team over at Geon. They reached out and said, hey, do you have a detail sponsor? I noticed you like to try and keep your stuff clean. And I said, nope. Open to options though. And here we are. Those guys hooked it up. They sent me everything. I think this is called their starter pack or however they worded it. But basically this is everything that you should need to start maintaining the cosmetics of your vehicle. First of all, first impressions, absolutely love the bright and vibrant colors and shapes on these bottles. Like, easy to know which product is which based on the color, the transparency, you know, the labels and everything else. Everything is different, so you can easily see what everything is. The coating itself is in a square box here. Towels. Notice this right away. I noticed they sent me a couple different ones. We've got a soft wipe, a silk dryer, the smoothie, and a bald wipe. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I think I can see some differences in the texture here, but I guess I'll have to research, what's what. Nope. They tell you right on the back. Look, this one is for, soft paints and ideal for wiping off coatings. And then the bald wipe, which has, shorter strands, is better for, removing polish or cutting compound, which is exactly the way I usually have used stuff in the past. But man, it is awesome that, like, on the package, they tell you exactly how to use it and why it is the way that it is. More importantly, I always like to keep my good wash mitts and my good clean microfibers in a sealed package. I've been doing this for years, just using like Ziploc bags from the kitchen, but apparently these guys are true car guys and detailers too, because look, these things come in a resealable bag. So once you wash them, put them right back in the bag, make sure that they stay dust-free, contaminant-free, and therefore you transfer less contaminants to your paint. We've got a dryer towel here too, agitating brush probably for mostly interior purposes. And then here's all the products that we're getting started with. Wet coat, I was just looking up, this is like you spray it on and it's gonna increase the hydrophobic properties of your paint finish, which I'm huge on. Nothing better than rinsing your vehicle and all the water just sheets off. Interior detailer, bathe, which I believe is for ceramic coat safe, so it's not going to affect your ceramic coating. Ceramic detailer, pretty self-explanatory. Prep, so this is what you would use before you apply a ceramic coating to make sure that the ceramic coating has something to bond to. Iron wheel cleaner, so this is what you see in all those detail videos where the guys spray it on and you can watch it work. It's going to change color. Super excited for that. I've never tried that. I had them send me the same stuff for the paint. I say the paint because we are starting right off the bat with one of the worst vehicles I've ever laid my hands on. I know it's in great shape under the filth, but as I mentioned, that Marauder's been sitting for close to a decade, and it needs the works, and I got it. So I said, do you have anything I can spray right on the paint that's just gonna do some work for me? So they sent me the iron equivalent that's safe for paint right here. And of course you've got your regular foam for your foam cannon, glass cleaner, and then of course once the paint is perfect, you can seal it all up with their pure Q2 ceramic coating. So super happy to have these guys on board. They're first and foremost a ceramic coating company, but they have expanded their whole product line to meet all of your detail needs. These are true car guys at heart. They know how to keep your paint, interior, glass, trim, wheels, tires, everything looking perfect, and I'm so excited to have them on board. So all that being said, let's put some of this stuff to use. Let's go get some sick B-roll of a very neglected Marauder, and then see if we can make it not like that. drive. What's wrong with it?
It's really ugly.
It's not ugly. It just needs everything.
It just looks like an old man.
Take a whiff inside. It smells like an old man in there. Oh, okay. What do you think? Tucker approved. My God, this stuff smells incredible. It smells like I'm at the car wash. Love it. You know, they predicted clouds and thunderstorms all day, which, you know, could still happen, but it's like 80 degrees out here. I'm dying. I'm pretty sure 2 videos ago I included snow in the video, but that's New Hampshire for you this time of year. Really hot summers and really cold winters. Anyways, look at this beautiful 2004 cop car, according to my wife. I love it, maybe she doesn't, but look at how good this thing cleaned up with the help of Geon products. I never recommend washing in direct sunlight because of stuff like this, but this paint needs a lot more help, so I'm not too worried about some water spots. But as I was saying earlier in the video, I don't see a single dent on this thing. It obviously has swirls and scratches in the paint, but every vehicle I buy for this channel does. That just makes the paint correction more satisfying, which you guys know is coming, but man, what an excellent start. I see a scratch right there. That's down to primer. We could probably touch that up and buff it, make it look pretty darn good. This trim that's on these Panther platform cars, the paint has seen a little bit better days on there. I would love to remove this, but there's some guys that say there's a hole, like a locating hole in the door here. So Panther experts, let me know if my 04 Marauder is gonna have a hole there, in which case we can repaint this. Otherwise, taking that off. Coming around back. Wheels, all 4 Marauder specific 18-inch beautiful 5-spoke wheels, came out great. We have got ourselves a heck of a start here, boys. We started with an extensive power wash just to get all the heavy grime off. Then I hit it with the iron treatment, let that soak in for a little bit, then hosed that off. Then we used their bath, or bathe, if you will, and the foam cannon. Suds were nuts, smelled incredible. Washed the whole car, rinsed it, and then hit the wheels with the iron treatment as well. Then washed those, and we are looking really good. Link for Geon products is going to be in the description. Definitely check them out. So I forgot to mention this earlier in the video, and I think I need your guys' help. Oh yeah, cleaned up the engine bay too. Gonna let this dry out and air out, but super clean. Anyways, in order to use, according to my research, in order to use the Terminator accessory drive, which mounts the alternator low and down here, I'm gonna have to notch the frame here, which to me is not a big deal. It's behind the shock tower. It shouldn't have to be a huge notch, and I've done it before on my Camaro to clearance the low mounts AC that I did on that car. And I know there is brackets available that allow you to do the eat and swap without cutting the frame, but it like flips the alternator around and has this weird tensioner thing, and it's like $800, and it's not even so much money, I just don't like how it looks. I think it looks goofy with the alternator flipped around. I have this beautiful dark shadow gray pulley bridge. I think the Terminator accessory drive as is looks badass, so I think we're gonna be notching the frame. If any of you guys have done this swap before and notched, you know, put that little pocket in the frame to clearance the alternator, let me know. Any tips, they are welcome. Also, just in general, anyone that has done this swap before, the Terminator swap, or, you know, a fully forged motor into your Marauder, you know, tips on the flex plate, I'm all ears. Need your guys' help there. Do I pull the transmission out, attach it to the motor, which you guys saw a sneak peek of in the thumbnail, and then stab it all in as one, or is it easy enough to stab the motor in and connect it to that flex plate? I don't even know how to use a flex plate. I don't even know how this works. I'm a manual transmission guy, so any tips you guys have for any of this, I am all ears. Well, there you have it, guys. The latest project for the channel, my 2004 Mercury Marauder, and a big project it is. We already got a great start on the drivetrain. We can now see how clean of a canvas we have to start with, but there is plenty of work to do. If you've been on this channel before, you know that I'm going to build this car the way that Ford or Mercury should have done it from the factory. We're going to just about double the horsepower this thing left the assembly plant with. Add some cosmetic touches. You know we're going to perfect the paint, lower it down, just make it a really, really badass sleeper. So if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. As always, leave a comment, tell your friends. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers. Really looking forward to that. Be on the lookout for merch coming soon. Catch you guys in the next one. All right, you ready to push this thing in?
Oh yeah.
4,500 pounds, no big deal.